episodes today.
That would be Sean, and we all talked about it.
We're live.
It wasn't in my calendar.
I mean, we're recording.
Okay.
Not according to, okay. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Self-Publishing Podcast. We're back on Zoom. We're trying it. We're going to see what happens. So today we're going to talk about packaging your product, which is knew we weren't going to get through that, which is, I mean, sort of intentionally marketing-y, like, because it isn't, we didn't say your book, like this is about taking your, this is the two-hat thing from Write, Publish, Repeat, right? Like the idea that in Write, Publish, Repeat, I said that you're an artist first and a marketer second, and it's in sequential order. So you create your art, or your, you know, whatever that, I guess it's art, even if it's nonfiction, you create your art, and then you have to think of it as a product and put on your marketer hat and take that artist hat off a little bit. And so this is about sort of, you know, really deliberately thinking of your work as a product and what needs to go into that product to sell it most effectively. And we're thinking about this a lot because just because we're doing some of this right now. I don't want to go into any detail, but with The Apprentice, like we're thinking a lot along these lines with the people that are in that. And so we want to just, these are the things you need, some of the things you need to think about in order to effectively package your product for an effective sale. And nobody has anything to say. All right, we'll see you guys later.
Well, that's just, yeah, that's the intro, right? And then we're going to do a little bit of fuckery and an awkward ad read and then get into it? Or
well, but usually when somebody completes the intro, usually there's then a back and forth. But in lieu of that,
usually Sean will reiterate whatever you just said, and I'll just sit here silently wondering why he just did it.
I've just gotten used to that. So in lieu of that, I will mention something that Seth said yesterday during a meeting that it sounded to me like a quote describing chaos theory.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Right, and I wish I could remember exactly what it was that he said, but it was something like, given enough time, eventually the Daves of any organization produce the effective, you know, prediction of a product's success or something. But he said it like without any hesitation, like he was describing eventually the dinosaurs will, you know, find their own way to reproduce because of chaos theory.
Well, okay, I'll give background on this as my something cool because this is my something cool. And Dave's back there stroking his beard like a super villain. Did you see that?
And he didn't say it with any. There was no mirth or anything. No. Like, he just said this like deadpan. It was just like.
Right, but it also you guys know. It wasn't an unkind thing at all. It was almost a compliment.
No, it was a compliment. It was very clearly a compliment.
So my something cool is Seth related, and I know I've done a few Seth related something cools, but the dude is cool. Our Sterling and Stone site, our long gestating site, will be live on Wednesday. It looks like. So that's pretty exciting.
Did you get confirmation on that? Because we were sort of back and forth on that when
I did this morning. Yeah. Wednesday was the day that he feels, cause he was going to try to have it done by now, so we could show you guys, you know, who are listening live, all the pretty, but he definitely seemed a little skittish about it. Like, yeah, he could do it, but he'd probably have to, you know, kill some cats. Like, I don't know. And so we decided, just no big deal. We'll do it the week later. And then this morning he said it looks like Wednesday it'll be. And so that's pretty exciting. It's not going to be 100% complete. It's going to be iterative. There's a lot of stuff coming. Like, it won't even have a blog page yet, and that's coming very, very soon. But that will be gorgeous. And we were having a conversation about that yesterday, in addition to writer. And we were basically having a pre-meeting about Story Shop Writer for a big meeting that we're going to have next week. That's like the final meeting about what this stuff should have before Writer gets built. And so we're pretty excited about that, because by the end of next week, we're actually going to have a scope and a price tag and all of that. And Story Shop Writer will officially be under production. And that's really exciting. And right now it's at the point where they're trying to integrate outline into what Writer is going to be. So outline in the planner doesn't have to be totally overhauled later. And so anyway, we were talking about setting up this meeting, and we were deciding whether Dave should be on the meeting. And
Dave's shaking his head.
Dave's shaking his head, no.
To be fair, that was the conclusion we reached as well.
Right. So it's kind of like we decided, really, this is a meeting where we're starting with yes, which is not Dave's strength, right? It's all about the unlimited potential of a writer could be, and that Dave would be better, in a meeting a little bit later down the road. And he's nodding in agreement.
As late as humanly possible.
Don't shit on it now. Shit on it later.
Right. Exactly.
Seth actually said, "When do you want this shit on?" No, he didn't say.
Well, it is really funny because it is all about the potential of writer, and some of the things we're talking about are pretty awesome. And in that kind of mood, that kind of creative brainstorming, you only want the yeses. Like, it's all about popcorning, and really the mood will dictate a lot of the enthusiasm. And that's not, Dave has a lot of strengths. That's just not one of them. So we were figuring this out, and then Seth said, actually, I think that Dave's, there's a lot of value in that. There's a lot of that negativity it can be really powerful, and again, like, we're gonna butcher it here, and oh my god, if we could get Seth to repeat it for the show notes, that would be amazing.
I think it was a spur of the moment thing.
It was spur of the moment, but he basically said, look, the Daves of any organization are valuable because
they are.
They do show you the chinks in the armor, and eventually you need that information, and it is very helpful. It's just not helpful at this stage of development. So anyway.
It was like, given enough time, the Daves of any organization inevitably predict the outcomes most likely to factor into an endeavor's future success. And it's something really verbose and learned like that.
And it was
and
awesome.
He just spooled it off. It was just like, boom.
My cynicism and skepticism is like the eye of Sauron.
Right.
And we both laughed and said we want that t-shirt.
Something cool?
Well, do you have one? Do you want to go first?
I do have something cool.
There you go. Go for it.
Okay, wait. This is the first time Dave's ever had something cool on a second episode.
Well, I was saving it for the second episode.
I'm so excited. I have no idea what this is going to be. I'm giddy.
It's a video game called Inside by a company called Play Dead. They did a game called Limbo, which came out, I think, 2010, maybe a little bit later. A black and white side scroller, which is very dark. It's about a kid lost in a forest, and he's trying to navigate his way to safety, and things just keep killing him over and over and over. It's a beautiful puzzle game. You can get it on. I think it's on iPad now. And that is an awesome game. It's one of my favorite games.
It's called Play Dead.
No, Play Dead's the name of the company.
What's the side scroller?
Limbo is the first game. You can get that now. The second one is called Inside, which just came out. It's only on Xbox and PC right now, so you're fucked. But it is absolutely beautiful. It takes what Limbo did and takes it to the next level. It's also about a kid. There's absolutely no dialogue. The entire thing is side-scrolling puzzle platformer, but it's visually the most beautiful thing I have ever seen in a video game. He's trying to navigate his way. You don't know what's going on. You're kind of trying to piece it together, and the game never tells you what's going on. You're piecing everything together yourself and trying to figure out why this kid is in danger. But he's going through this like landscape of just like horrible things are happening. Dogs are chasing him. People are trying to kill him. He has to go through like this factory-like thing where he has to like act like these basically human meat puppets. They're just people that are just walking, and he has to act like them. And if he does anything out of line, a wire just shoots down, snaps him up, and yanks him, and he's dead.
Oh, this is beautiful. I'm looking at it now.
It is the most beautiful game ever. And it's one of those puzzlers where it's, some of it'll be like, damn, how do I get past this? But you always figure it out because the game they took their time making it, and it's just so perfectly made, and you'll figure it out. Sometimes you might need to go online and look for a walkthrough if you can't figure it out. But pretty much most of the stuff it's trial and error sort of stuff. And the save system is very forgiving. Like, you don't go all the way back to the beginning if you die. Otherwise, I'd hate the fucking game. Like Dark Souls, fuck that game. But this game, it's only like 5 hours, by the way. So the puzzles are so inventive, and they take what you know and use it against you. And it's just when I face a new puzzle, I just have this, and I die. I had this smile on my face, like, oh my god, that's so fucking clever. How did they do that? But as it goes on, and you start to kind of, you don't ever really figure out the story, but you kind of figure out what's going on. And the ending, the very end of it, I'm not going to spoil any of this, but the very end of it, I was like, well, I wanted more. I wasn't super satisfied with the very end of it, but right before the very end, when something just crazy happened, I just could not stop. Like, oh my God, that is so fucking awesome. Like the whole game, I was just like, this is just awesome. So
Yeah,
if you have an Xbox One or you have a PC, definitely get it. I imagine we'll be out on other stuff later.
Wow, I kind of don't know how to follow that up. What I was going to go with was I was actually listening back, and this is, I need to be a little bit cagey on this, but we've talked about some of this in general, and I just want to. So basically, the Indie Fiction podcast is kind of starting to really get legs. We had a meeting about it, and we've started talking about some of the things we're going to do.
They're dead zombie legs.
Is that what that is? Dead zombie things?
Dead zombie legs, because he said
Legs.
legs, so they're dead zombie legs. I'll shut up now.
Okay, so and just I kind of don't know what to say other than that we're going to do this Indie Fiction podcast. We're going to take our book Dead City, which was kind of a hit in the production house. We heard some great things from the narrators and everything. And it'll only be available on the Indie Fiction podcast at the beginning. And we're just, it's kind of another paradigm breaker. We're going to try and see what we can do with a different medium. And so that's very, very exciting. Do we have a date on that we can announce? Or, I mean, I know it's still...
I think it's August 22nd.
Is when the Indie Fiction podcast will launch. And again, that's the only way you're going to be able to get this book at the beginning.
I think Dave's like a third through this book, which is the farthest he's ever made
I'm
it.
like 40%.
Oh, he's still working on it.
I love it. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Oh, he just said he loved it.
Yeah.
So far, unless you fuck it up at the end.
Johnny
I
got
don't think
really-
we fuck up at the end. I think it gets better and better at the end.
It's strong.
The twist at the end is, I think, it took a lot to figure out anyway.
I'm reading it, trying to figure out like what you guys might do with it, and I like that. Like usually when I read something by somebody I know, I can't enjoy the book because I'm reading it from like an editorial view, like things I might do differently, not better necessarily, but things I would do differently. But this I'm reading like as an actual reader, and this is like the first time I've been able to do that with anybody's books that I know specifically, and I'm enjoying that. And it's also got me thinking like, okay, what are you guys going to do?
You're not going to figure it out. If you figure it out,
I'll figure it out. I've never.
You can't, but challenge. You can't. Well, okay, let me put it this way. You might be able to figure out the big picture of what happens, but I find it impossible to imagine that you can figure out the why and what's really at stake. Like, I think I could predict like this person here, and I could see you figuring that out.
Yeah, you can break down pieces of the puzzle for sure.
Well,
but the actual why and everything, the mechanics, like it took basically a genetics degree to figure out. Like, I don't think you're gonna.
Well, yeah, I don't have that, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, he
Only
just
have an
called you
degree in
dumb.
skepticism.
Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, he called me dumb.
What my point is, it wasn't just about moving pieces around. It was about actually like chemistry.
Cunt.
Yes,
And he just said you have no chemistry.
that's true.
That's true.
Well, you know what doesn't have chemistry is sometimes a book and its shitty ass cover.
Will you please make this a terrible ad read? Because the last one was way too pro and it made me uncomfortable.
Well, occasionally we need to get pro, but I think that this is really what a sponsorship is about, right? Like the shitty. Although I think by prefacing this by saying it's a bad ad read, kind of ruins. And Sean jumped in on the ad read again. That's what happened. Did you see that?
I wish a wire would shoot down and snap him out of that.
I know. Where are the zombie legs on this? I think it's safe to say though. I think it's safe to say though that inside that game, if it was a book, it could have really been ruined by a poor first experience. Like let's forget about book covers. Let's talk about like if you had a poster for this game, and then instead of clicking through and Sean saying, "Wow, this is beautiful," it would have been, wow, this looks like total shit and amateurs must have made it just based on the cover.
Yes, and we see that all the time. Every day I go on Amazon, it's like it's a shit fest of book covers. It really is. There's just so many bad book covers, and I wonder how the hell these people are able to sell books, if they are at all. Usually they're not. Usually it's like you can tell they're not selling any books, and the reason is because the book cover sucks. And you have to be competitive. You have to have a good book cover. And I will say that it's different now than it was back in 2010. Because 2010, it was mostly shitty book covers. Now a lot more people are hiring professional designers. They're going to places like 99designs.com/SPP, and they're able to compete. And you want to be one of those people that are competing. You want to be one of those people that stand out, not for your shitty book cover, but for looking like the other ones that are selling well. You want your book to sell well, and to do that, you need a great book cover.
I feel like we're a little immune to this by now because we keep saying shitty book covers won't help your book sell. But I mean, honest to God, like it's astonishing how you'll see something and be like, wow, that cover looks great. I'm going to buy it. Nothing about it. Just looks great. And then you'll see something, you're like, well, that could be a great book, but oh my God, does it look like a total piece of shit?
Yeah.
So,
I'll hear about books from people that like, our listeners or somebody will tell us about a book that they read that they liked, and I'll go to look at it and I'll be, no, I can't read that. I'm a snob. I'm sorry. I can't have that book on my Kindle. I refuse. It's an abomination. It's an affront to God.
So what would I do if I needed I didn't have a cover designer. I didn't trust him. I didn't know that my cover designer was going to get it. So I wanted options. No
actively waiting.
Right. I don't want to be actively waiting for that shit.
Then you go to 99designs.com/SPP because they have teams of designers. They have millions, billions. I don't even know where we're at right now.
Zillions.
Designers that may or may not be influenced by the ayahuasca gods. I don't know.
There's only one. It's Mother Ayahuasca.
Well, there's one that you know about. Some of us know the real truth, and we'll save that for another show. But if you want a book cover that is just an amazing cover, the right cover for you, then you should go to 99designs.com/SPP, and they make it super easy. Easiest thing ever, and it's quick.
So start your custom design today at 99designs.com/SPP. If you use that link, you get the free Power Pack upgrade, which gets you more designer time and attention, valued at $99. If you do not, a wire shoots down to the ceiling and just click. So we want to be clear on that.
Yeah. Also, if you use the link, they realize that we're doing our job. We're promoting their stuff, and if you don't use a link, they don't know that, and then you might lose these ad reads, and that would be a horrible thing.
It really would. We got to keep you guys doing that and we need the credit so we can keep these ad reads. It's all about the community.
You want this to continue, right?
All right, so I know we're done with that ad read, but it actually ties in really nicely to today's topic. And Dave, in all seriousness, so ad read's over, just straight. Would you seriously not read a book with a bad book cover?
Seriously, I mean, unless you or somebody that I know intimately, if you will. Somebody whose finger has been in my body. If that person said,
now why didn't that make the ad read?
If that person said this book was awesome, then I might. But otherwise, no, I can't. I'm sorry. It offends me. It really does. No, it's like you're not even fucking trying.
I'm with Dave on this. So we said from the beginning, we've always been saying like your book cover is important. Your book cover is important. But it's amazing, like. The longer we stay in this, the more true that becomes. It's so obvious to me now that like it's almost as clear as great book cover. Okay, so nobody take this the wrong way, okay? Because this is like use it for good, not evil. But it's almost like shitty book plus fantastic book cover is so much better than fantastic book and shitty cover as far as your initial sale.
Okay. I hate that I agree with that, but I do agree with that.
I'm going to make...
Well, reviews and stuff. Agreed. You can't keep it up that way.
There was one book that had a shitty cover that I read and I liked, and that was Wool. The original cover I thought was shit. I never liked it. I didn't understand how it did well.
But did you?
But the story
you get it because
the cover. Oh,
but
I
you
got
already
what it was.
you had a lot of lead up to that, right? Like you had a lot of like, this is a great book, go read it. Like a lot of people talking about.
Yeah, and he was popping up on our because he came out like the day before, a day after Yesterday's Gone, and like everything I knew about Hugh, I liked, so I wasn't going to hold that against him. But if I don't already know of the person, that the cover is going to scare me away, and it took me a while to get to reading Wool because of the cover. Like, oh, I don't want to open this. This is going to suck. I just don't. But
Right. Like I want to clarify this because self-conscious mama in the comments, great covers catch my eye, but shitty book covers don't put me off at all. Now I don't know if this is what you mean, but the sort of a counter here might be almost, and I know that you're not saying this necessarily, although maybe you are. It's almost an elitist argument, like are we elitist for that, or are people? And then you say, well, that a bad book cover won't put me off. The merit work stands on its own. It's not that. What it is if you don't have prior knowledge of a book, then that's all you have. There's too much out there. And so if you're scanning through something, you don't have time to stop and evaluate, well, hold on, this might be a really good book, whatever. Like the cover is the advertisement. And if you are going in blind, that is the single most important thing.
Well, I think there's
why do people use elitism like it's a bad word? Why wouldn't you want to be elite? Why wouldn't you want to be the best you can be?
Well, because it's the adage of judging a book by its cover, which usually your mother told you not to do.
right. Well,
And
go
so it's
to-
like, well, what if it's a great book? Why would
Cover
you
is
put
usually
that
right.
cover against it?
okay, so go
And
to
the
comments
reason is
instead.
because you can't read it in advance of seeing the book cover usually.
Yeah, the cover is the first gatekeeper.
And it flavors what your reading experience is going to be. When I opened up Wool, I fully expected it to suck. Maybe that worked it to its advantage. Maybe if it was a great cover, maybe the story wouldn't have impressed me as much. I don't know. Maybe it's a genius idea to have a bad book cover.
Well, it's just those it's the same with anything. If you go to a film and you see a really crappy movie poster, like it does affect how you say you haven't seen the trailer. I mean, movies have an advantage over books because the trailers are effective.
Yes.
But if you just see a one sheet, you're just looking at a movie poster, that movie poster is going to communicate a lot about.
Yeah. And if it sells the genre wrong, then I'm going to have a flavor of that genre, even if it's not indicative of the movie. Usually, though, I won't hold a movie poster against a movie because usually the movie posters, I don't see too many that are bad. I see ones that just don't work for me, but I don't see ones that just offend me like book covers do.
Well, that's because
They're pros.
They're pros.
They go to 99 Designs.
There's a lot of thought put into movie posters, from the colors to the placements to like a lot. It's movie posters is a total art. They absolutely broadcast genre and the mood, and like it is an art and a science the way they do that. But I also think that I lost my train of thought.
Derailment.
Spontaneous derailment. Well, so we're talking about packaging in general. And
Wait, yeah, I actually do remember, and well, it's because I knew I was piggybacking off of something I saw in the comments, and it's what Kate said. Honestly, the title of tracks puts me off more. Shitty title, I hate it already. LOL. Yeah. And that's very true, but that's also part of this packaging that we're talking about. Your title, your book cover, your product description, your compile. These are all part of the user experience, and they're all part of what helps you stand out from other indie authors. And I do think that there are two separate groups here. I think there are people who buy, 1 or 2 books a month. I think there are people who they live on their Kindles and they're reading constantly and they don't care as much. Like they're so used to the Amazon ecosystem. They've probably read a lot of shitty book covers, but good books. And so they're just not as put off. And
it's still your time though, man. That's what I keep getting.
It is. But I think that there are some people who we talk about food all the time, right? And like the difference between Arby's and Jack Allen's. There are some people who
diarrhea.
They seriously don't care. Like to them, 5 roast beef sandwiches for $5. That's a good meal. And I think there's the same. There are some people on.
I think that's I don't think that analogy works though, because to them the Arby's tastes good. Like, why would you go there and you say it doesn't taste good? Unless you're saying the bad book covers are attractive to those people.
Well, it's not that they're attractive, it's that they're not unattractive. And I think there's a difference there. It's not that Arby's is good, it's that it's not bad to them. They don't think of it as bad. And okay, so without naming any names, the person that I was talking to recently about their books and how well this person is doing, and yet the books aren't very good. And they even know they're not very good. It's the same thing. Their readers aren't looking for anything good. Like, they just want something very consumable. And so, like, the author even knows that they're not especially good, but that doesn't impede them in any way. So I think that there is a group of readers to whom that doesn't matter, but I don't think that's the reader that you want to attract.
Well, and plus with something like that, you only have to get them once, like, I'm talking about somebody coming at you for the first time. They don't know you. They haven't read any of your books before. They haven't read any books maybe from other authors that are a lot like you before. They haven't gotten a recommendation. They're judging you totally as blank slates.
And I also don't think you build diehard fans the other way, right? So, like a person who loves Arby's probably likes a lot of crap. Like, sorry, Arby's.
Well, I'm going to look up the Nihilist Arby's Twitter account again.
I was just thinking of that.
They do have good French fries. They're fucking good French fries.
Have you ever met a French fry you didn't like?
Yes, many. In fact, I'm a French fry
I like Arby's sometimes, man.
Yeah, their curly fries are fucking awesome, and their mozzarella sticks are good too. They got two things I really like. I'll fight you, man.
Confession. I went to Arby's maybe 15 years ago and got one.
You can't judge,
so I can't really judge. But I don't know. It seems pretty filthy to me. Any place that sells 5.
Wow. I was going to read a Nihilist Arby's, but the first 6 or 7 tweets I all had to pass because they're offensive, in really clear ways. Come on, man. What happened with you guys?
I gotta go.
Taken over by neo-Nazis.
So anyway, my point is a person who, only wants to eat at places like Jack Allen's, that's all they eat. That's it. That's all they eat. They are going to be more elitist. They are not going to eat at a place like that. And I think that you're a good example, Dave, of somebody, you don't read that. As much as you love good work and as much as you love good fiction, you don't consume that much. So you're going to be really picky.
Yes,
and
I am.
When you fall in love with an author, you fall in love with the author.
That's true. I love M.R. Carey. I love David Levitan, Stephen King, Dean Koontz, Clive Barker.
You want those kinds of readers. You want people who are going to fall in love with your work. And I think it's different to create something that's just super consumable, that the reader is just tearing through, and something that you're going to sign up to that author's list because you want to know the minute their new book is out. And that's part of the user experience that you want to create.
Yes. So creating a good experience does begin with the packaging, and it makes a difference. As far as, because I've seen books that are just horribly formatted, and I won't read those either because it just pulls me out. Would you stop reading that shit, man?
Yeah, I had to too. I was distracted. I'm going to bring myself back to center.
Okay, wait. Just to clarify, I purposely did not go there, and then Johnny put a link in Slack, and I'm broken. I had to click the link.
All right. So what were you saying, Dave?
I've seen horribly formatted books, and that will also pull me out of the experience. I want the book to be formatted correctly. I want it to look good. That it all matters because, like you said, I don't have a lot of time to read fiction because I'm writing so much and I get eye strain and shit. So I want it to be a pleasant, easy experience, and I'm not patient. I won't put up with shit. And I think that the more care that I see in a product, from the cover to the formatting of the book to little added things like Garrett was doing and J.A. Huss was doing, the little flourishes
Robin is doing,
and that we're now doing, those things, they matter. They show me that the author cares about my reading experience.
Okay, that's the point. That's the point right there. It's that the author cares, and when the author cares, it's almost like that's a start of a relationship. And the authors over time, and it doesn't mean you can't make, tens of thousands of dollars a month creating, very consumable entertainment. You absolutely can. But I don't know how sustainable that is, because as algorithms change, as cream rises to the top, as the industry, matures, which it is, like the indie publishing landscape is very different now than it was just a few years ago. And it's going to continue to evolve, and quickly. And if you can't be ahead of those changes, you're going to be behind. And I think a big part of that is the packaging and is the care and concern that we put for our reader. We have to love our readers, and we show them in small ways, like the way we assemble our products.
I think it's more about professionalism, honestly. So, we're doing some market analysis right now, and you'll see places where traditional is dominating. And I understand traditional publishing has some significant weapons in their arsenal that we don't have. They're able to just put a lot of promotion behind things that indies can't do. But that said, once things are out there in the wild, there's sort of a truism where consumers will pay more for a traditional book, even if it's not like a huge known author. The traditional price is higher because they have to, and they still manage to sell books. And the question is why? And if you can't, this is more of a thought exercise, but if you can't tell the difference between an indie book and something that was published by Random House, then like you can charge more. You know what I mean? Like, you just have a leg up if you're more professional in the marketplace to be able to, in the eye of anybody reading it. It's like this could pass for something traditional. We've really put a lot of thought recently into consistency and to every aspect of a book's packaging. So it is the compiling that we were talking about. We talked about it on a previous episode, I want to say, or maybe that was during boot camp. Did we talk about it on SPP? Because I could go grab a book and.
I don't know. I'm getting.
I don't think so.
I'm getting a lot of things jumbled. I feel like I remember you holding up Dream Engine recently, but
I think that was during.
That was during boot camp. It was.
Well, continue on something else, and I'll grab it just to give a little bit of a visual.
Sean.
Yeah.
What are some other aspects of packaging?
I think it's like if you think of the products that you bought, Apple, we always talk about Apple when we talk about packaging, because they spend a lot of time and money and attention making sure that their products are very well packaged. And it's part of the experience. They make packaging that you almost don't want to throw away. And that's ridiculous. They're like little cardboard boxes, but
they feel so velvety though.
They do. They're nice. Like,
I'm gonna rub my. Never mind.
These thick boxes, and when it's unboxing an Apple product is part of the experience. It's nice, and it's kind of silly. Like I got a pair of Beats headphones, and like that packaging was super nice. And I had them for like maybe a year, and then I was moving. And I finally threw the box away because I'm like, why do I need this box? Like, it's so stupid to keep this box. But I kept it for a year just because it was nice.
Oh, I saved all my computer iPad boxes in case I needed to ship them back or anything. One thing I've noticed, though, like when I'll buy something on Amazon that might be from like a reseller or something, and they'll just ship it like in a plastic bag, like no packaging whatsoever, I feel like, oh, I just got some Bobo shit.
Yeah, okay, look at these comments, right? Apple and Beats, awesome packaging. I still have all the Apple packaging I've ever had. I'm looking at the iPad box I took with me when I moved now. Right? It was hard for me to throw away my huge iMac box. Like, this is something that
I threw mine away right away. I unboxed the computer and I took it right down to the garbage.
See, it is part of for a lot of people. It helps them bond to Apple.
Oh, I enjoyed opening the box, but I wasn't going to save it. You fuckers are crazy. So anyway, here's an example. I'm going to do a packaging thing via the Dream Engine because I think there's a lot of points here. Now, as I go through this, I would say definitely the lesson is not do what we did. The lesson is listen to the lessons. So I should have grabbed an original Dream Engine. But I don't have it within reach. But and a lot of this is for you audio people. I'll try to describe it, but it's going to be a little harder to get it. But the original Dream Engine cover was, and we had it commissioned. We really liked it. It was the artist that did Unicorn Western, and she did her half of a face, like she was half off the book cover, and the machine was in the background, and it was a really nice cover, and I really liked it, but it didn't fit the genre as well. This is sort of a young adult. It's steampunk, but I think it's more you got to get the young adult in there first. And it's called the Dream Engine, and so it had a dreamy sort of a feel, and that just didn't fit it. And this is the new cover. So the first thing is the cover has to be, it can't, even a good cover, we've talked about this a dozen times, so we won't. Even a good cover in the wrong style isn't a good cover because it doesn't match. Like YA books look kind of like this one. This is a lot better. It's got the dreamy style of font, and it's just a really good cover. And this is the paperback, so it wouldn't apply as much to an ebook compile. But Garrett did this one, and he started doing there's a little index image on the spine, so that when we put these sideways on a shelf, there's a little image at the top. And then we've started doing a lot of these internal components for our ebook compiles too. We've standardized this in a way that we were never able to do it before. So right inside the first page is this sort of ghosted out page. So she's actually, you can see the girl on the cover, but on this version, it's a black and white on the splash page, the first splash page without her in it. And we've started doing those black and white splash pages in our ebook compiles too. And the next page is a dedication, but little subtle things like, if you look at the font on the cover, it's this script, and dedication is written in the same font.
And that's a consistency thing. When you see it, I mean, there's covers that have 4 different fonts on them, and then we've seen compiles with different fonts, and you have like, if the interior file you have both straight quotes and smart quotes.
That doesn't look like crap.
Terrible. Yeah.
Looks like you just didn't care. Opposite the dedication is a copyright page where we have these imprint-specific logos. So it's got the Realm and Sands logo and everything. These are all consistently sort of numbered and laid out. We then have a second splash page, which is just the text basically from the cover. It's like, these are things that you see in print books where they have several kind of splash pages. And then once we're into the meat of the book, these are the little flourishes that Dave was talking about. There's a little image that goes above the chapter heading, which again is in the fonts borrowed from the cover. So we have a consistent family of fonts. So in this case, it's a little butterfly. The Dream Engine is told exclusively from the point of view of our main character, Isla, until the final chapter, where there's a chapter that's told from Cora's point of view, which is her friend. And Cora chapters are a dragon. So it's the same scheme, but it has the dragon instead of the butterfly. And in subsequent books, to index the 2 POVs, because they alternate roughly, we'll have all of those. And so just building, and just little things like the header and footer are also in that font, up here on the top. And so using consistent fonts throughout, those little flourishes, the idea of, if you wanted to do, like we started doing these splash pages, and yes, it adds a little bit to our file size, but who cares? Like, we want an overall better user experience. And if somebody opens this up, like Sean opened up 321, Julie's book, and was like, wow, this is a beautiful compile. Like, that was one of your first impressions, right?
Yeah. And it
is there in color?
Yeah, it's right. I was reading it on my iPhone, and all the chapter heads were in color. That was literally the first time I'd ever seen that, and that includes traditional books. So, like, awesome. And I don't know. I think I would have liked the book regardless, because I think Julie's an excellent writer, and so, like, I believe the characters and I liked the book, but but I was just sold. I was sold from page 1. It just had it felt pro to me.
And I think that's something that the YA books really, like, every time I go to Target and I'll browse the bookshelves and I'll look at the YA books, because I like the way they're packaged. I like the way they look. They have a very a visual style that, I mean, because they have to, because they're going after the younger audience who are, they're more interested in the visual side of things than I think maybe us older readers are. And it's a good place to go to get some inspiration for, like, visual styles and cues and stuff like that.
Agreed. Sandra Ann says in the comments, reading is a powerful experience. For me, it's an event. When I hold a paperback in my hands, I want it to be beautiful. Well said. And I think that people who truly, truly love to read, that aren't just, reading to pass the time, but they truly love it, it is important to them. And those are the people you want to bond with your books, because those are the mavens. Those are the people who tell other people about what they're reading.
But even if it's not that strong, it harkens back to what Dave was saying earlier about how hard it was to get into Wool when he didn't like the cover. Yes, you might be one of these mavens for whom reading is very powerfully emotional, and you consciously want to have the feel of a certain kind of book. Like the cover is matte there, and I think matte has a really good feel to it. But that said, even for your average reader, you are still creating an emotional experience, whether they feel like they want an intense emotional experience from the actual reading or not. And so when you have a crappy cover and it takes too many clicks because something's wrong with the formatting and it starts at the wrong place, just all the things that can go wrong with packaging, unprofessional packaging, there's the wrong title inside the book. It doesn't matter because the book's right, but the wrong title is in there. Those sorts of things are setting an emotional expectation. They're putting them in a bad mood from the beginning.
Right? Yeah. There's speed bumps to their bonding, and it's just it's careless, is what it is.
And I mentioned Hugh before with his bad book cover, but he's really good about when he sells his books, like the print books, he does little special things. I don't know if he still does or not now that he's living on a boat. But when he sold that the one book, he put sand in the box.
The book was called Sand. He actually put it between the pages.
And he did this thing for the Wool. He got these USB cards that look like key cards made, which I thought was really awesome.
That's really cool.
And he sold these directly to readers. And that kind of attention to detail, I really appreciate. We had a question here. Jen K asked, any tips for maintaining look and feel consistency across the series? I would say to create a Bible. A lot of editors will use a Bible, not the Holy Bible, but a Bible which has specifics to the book, like what things are capitalized and stuff like that. I'd say you can create something like that for your series, like what images are used for chapter headings. Maybe you have specific images used for specific character POVs. To have all that written down in a Bible, I think would be really helpful going forward.
Agreed. If you don't actually have some kind of consistent place, it's really easy to get lost. And you don't want that. It's the same thing with your editor. If you have, let's say you have a character that's named the King, and you want to make sure that that's capitalized throughout the book, you have to make a rule. The King is capitalized, and so otherwise you'll be inconsistent. So I think that thinking about it on a grander level, okay, well, here are the rules. This is what pagination should look like, and on. It just helps, but you need to know those things. So you have to ask yourselves the questions.
I had to go back and look at the original cover of Wool after Dave talking about this, and yeah, you're right. I don't like it either. The new one is much better.
Well, it looked very, very self-published, but
it isn't just that it looks self-published, and sorry, Hugh, we love you. It's not like we're trying to shit on this cover, but it also has kind of a playful feel. It's almost like if you were to do a suspense book and it was great, except that you used Comic Sans as the font. It just.
You know what? I actually agree with that. It is a playful cover.
It feels like it just might be kind of a feel-good book, and it's very much not. So there's that. What else in packaging? Title, tagline, these are all good stuff.
Let's talk title for a moment, because we're actually talking title for several books in a row in the next week. So it is kind of a big thing with us. I think title is, I don't know, I forget who said it. Somebody in the comments said it, that, title will throw them off, even before a cover. Yeah. And that's probably true for me too. A terrible title is more difficult for me to get over than the cover, because it's more indicative of what the author is going to do with words, right? A cover is, okay, maybe, I don't know, maybe they just couldn't afford a good cover, or they don't have any visual sense whatsoever. But if you have a really terrible title, then I don't trust your ability to convey meaning through words. And so title is really important. So what are the things that you want to convey in title? Certainly tone, right? Like you're just talking about the wool cover conveying the wrong tone for that book, what it actually was. I think that's very true in title. You need our biggest, we are so guilty of this. In all the Sterling and Stone entire catalog, what is the one I'm going to say?
You're going to say Cursed, the original Chupacabra Outlaw.
Yes, Chupacabra Outlaw. Terrible title, because that is not, if it was a comedy, then it'd be fine. Like that's a good name for it.
I can't believe that that didn't smack us in the face. Instead, Dave smacked us in the face. But how was that not really, really, really apparent? I think it's because the Genesis.
Your head's up your ass.
Well, because we didn't know it was going to be horror. We had no idea to know what tone that was going to be. We were just coming up with concepts. And Chupacabra Outlaw could have been an LOL book. We were writing funny stuff at the time. So
instead, it turned out to be the only book with zero humor. There's nothing in it that's remotely amusing.
There's nothing funny.
The only one that's that way.
In Cursed. Chupacabra Outlaw would be a great title for a comedy. It immediately says ridiculous and stupid.
And I'm going to say, the Chupacabra Outlaw, when I was reading the book, my enjoyment of it was lessened because of the title. And it was one of those books that I didn't want to read. And I only read it because I had it loaded up on my Kindle. And that was the first time I went to a sleep apnea clinic. And I was like, okay, I'm going to read something that might put me to sleep.
Oh, wow. So how far did you read that?
He made it to the wedding scene.
Yeah, no, I finished that book, and I liked it, and I was like, wow, I would like the book even better though if the title were different, and that's before you change the title. So.
Title and the cover too has a very angsty cover on it as well.
Yeah, well, I made the original cover, so yeah, it sucked.
Yeah, okay, and I mean, there's a lot to title, I think. So, Sean mentioned tone. Cursed isn't just shorter than Chupacabra Outlaw. It's not just a different tone. It's, Chupacabra Outlaw. That's 6 syllables, and Cursed is 1. Cursed. And I think that there's a big difference there. It's the brevity of the title conveys a tone too.
And the Cursed actually has very short, crisp, it's a very dry read. And so Cursed actually really, it almost delivers a promise. The book itself delivers a promise that Chupacabra Outlaw absolutely does not.
Right. And so our invasion books also, I mean, they have multiple syllables, but they're all one. It's invasion, contact, colonization, annihilation, judgment, extinction, resurrection. And, that sets a different tone from, there was a book that I read, I don't know if it was last year, that I really liked. It was called The First 15 Lies of Harry August. That's a long, right. But it's the right title for that book because it has, I don't know how to describe it other than to say that cadence of that title fits the cadence of the prose.
My book's going to be called Fucked. It's very
I could
short, 1 syllable.
No, that's awesome. I can see that working. Yeah. So it's just all these things. It's care and consideration. And Johnny and I were wrong for not being more careful once we had the title. That didn't mean we needed to go to market. The working title for Dream Engine was Blunderbuss, whatever. It's good to have a working title.
I don't think, a working title. Sorry. I was going to say we were never going to go to market with Blunderbuss.
And speaking of things that sound right, Dave was right. Sounds a lot better than Sean and Johnny were wrong.
That's very true. And actually, I think that Dave objecting to the title probably contributed to us keeping the title.
Yeah, because you're fucking cunts.
Well, no, it's not that. It's that it becomes white noise because you're no on everything.
Everything.
Right.
He hates everything.
Right. So it's very difficult to.
You're the boy who cried, "I hate you all."
Right. So, but you need to really think about that. I love the idea of having a working title for something because it makes sense. You want to refer to your work in progress as something, but that doesn't mean that has to be the title that you publish under. And the truth is, Chupacabra Outlaw, I could see even keeping that as a working title because it's funny. It would have made us laugh, but that's certainly not the book that should have gone to market. That required more care and consideration from us that our readers didn't get, and it probably really crippled that particular book.
So book description and tagline. I'm a real fan of. We haven't done a ton of tagline work lately, but I really do like taglines because they're just a very, very short way somewhere between the description. The title and the description to give you a little bit more information and a mood just in a few words. So again, I really do like Cursed for this. Cursed's tagline is fear the change, smell the blood. And if you read Cursed and then you read that tagline, you're like, and you see that cover, you're like, okay, I know exactly what kind of book this is. I know exactly what kind of experience I'm going to get. And that we have taglines for all the invasion books. I can add.
Desiree says sounds menstrual. I wanted to make that joke, but I didn't want to come off as sexist. I was going to say isn't that the tagline you stole from Always?
Just wow. All right, quick Johnny, course correct.
I have nothing to say.
Christy had a comment asking if you guys use a tagline on the book covers.
It depends on the size, right? Because, for sure, it absolutely works on Cursed because the title is, so much brevity. So we have the room to, have the title and then the tagline right underneath it. But if it was a longer title and a longer tagline, then you don't want your cover to be crowded. So I think that's a case by case.
It depends on the designer too. So we're not book cover designers. But people who know book cover designers, like who, Dave?
99designs.com/SPP.
Those people know that various placements of text on a cover, it balances a cover. You know what I mean? Like, I need something here. I need something here. So sometimes we'll get a cover design back, and it'll say tagline goes here. And it's like,
we hadn't thought of a tagline
right,
yet.
the cover just, the designer just knows it needs something here. And so there's room for a tagline. But on the invasion covers, we actually have it as well. It's right below the main name on the front, but then we also do this. So,
dude, I haven't seen Judgment. That looks great.
Yeah, on the back. So what I'm holding up the back of the paperback right now, and it's just, we put the description back there, but it's headed by the tagline, which in the case of Judgment is they know what we've done. And so it sets a mood for it. Sometimes we'll also start the book cover description that way. Or not the book cover description, the book description on the bookseller sites. Like the first line will be bold in all caps or something.
Which is a really nice way to introduce, what you're going to say about the book. It's a headline. Both your title and your tagline used correctly are basically a headline. It's a promise to the reader. And if your tagline delivers on the promise of the title and your product description delivers on the promise of the tagline and your book, really conveys the tone that all of those other elements are, that's a winning combination. And I think you're setting yourself up to be enjoyed, up front.
So anyway, there's a ton to this, but in the interest of the fact that the SPP is not a 17-hour show, I guess we'll stop there. But the basics are, you've created something that's art, and it has been refined and become the best art that it can be, and then you need to think of it as a product, and a product needs to find its ideal consumer. So it doesn't matter what you think. If you're, as an artist, if your product would resonate best with readers of Westerns, and you need to tailor it accordingly. Like Cursed, for instance, we were trying to package it with the whole chupacabra angle. Like that's the thing. That's the transformation, not into a werewolf. But we didn't need to do that. Like we need to think that it's shifter people, it's werewolf people that were interested in this book. So we package it according to that. But anyway, just keep that stuff in mind. That's very, very important if you actually want to sell your books. So I guess that's it.
Yeah, I don't remember who said it, but it's design is intelligence made visible. And I think that's kind of what you want to do. You are broadcasting your intelligence as an artist, and everything that you do, your product description, your title, tagline, cover, all of that, the way your book looks as a compile, you are broadcasting not only your intelligence as an author, but how much you care about your product and therefore your reader.
Ghost says, let's go with Hitler. Hitler said it.
I'm sure he did.
All right. So thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Adios.
So
Do you stop?